Labdien, mediju pārstāvji!
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'm pleased to welcome you to the second press conference of today, which is devoted to the Informal Council of Employment and Social Affairs. And I would like to give the floor to the Minister of Welfare, Mr. Auglis, for the opening speech. Later on to Vice President of the Commission for the Euro and Social Dialogue, Valdis Dombrovskis, and Commissioner for Employment, Social Affairs, Skills and Labour Mobility, Marianne Thyssen. Please, Mr. Auglis, the floor is yours. Thank you. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'm truly pleased that we have successfully concluded the first day of the Informal Council of Employment and Social Affairs. All our today's discussions and discussions of tomorrow will be about the social dialogue. Therefore, I am pleased that I'm joined by Vice President of the Commission for the Euro and Social Dialogue, Valdis Dombrovskis, and Commissioner for Employment, Social Affairs, Skills and Labour Mobility, Marianne Thyssen. In discussions today, we're speaking about the opportunities of the social dialogue in inclusive growth, and here I would like to underline that the role of social partners is very important at European level. Discussions about the investment plan implementation, energy union, and the implementation of digital single market, taking into account their impact on employment and growth. To give a wider perspective and global connotation to our today's discussions, we enjoyed the presence of Director General of the ILO, Guy Ryder. As you know, the ILO is a long-standing organization with a lot of valuable experience developing social dialogue and tripartite consultation concept, as we know them today. Social partner organization representatives took active part in today's discussions as well, and I am especially pleased for that. We couldn't imagine full-fledged and meaningful discussion about strengthening the social dialogue without the participation of social partners themselves. European growth objectives can be more effectively achieved with the help of social dialogue, and inclusive growth in the understanding of Europe 2020 strategy means empowering people through high levels of employment, investing in skills and fighting poverty. Reality not always is splendid. European labour markets today are facing serious challenges. The legacy of economic and financial crisis is still persisting in a number of countries. Issues of wage development, labour market exclusion, as well as poverty are still topical. While being aware of challenges that we meet today in implementation of social dialogue, both in Latvia and elsewhere in Europe, and assessing the significance of these challenges, we have to think about the initiatives to overcome these challenges. One of those challenges is related to the capacity of social partners. The capacity of social partners means their ability to be professional, strong and financially independent in representing their interests. At the same time, it is important that they are able to cooperate, reaching compromise solutions when solving different social and economic issues. At the same time, it's very important to strengthen the capacity of social partners at the national level so that they are able to actively participate at European level and global activities. Here it's very important that the national level social partners are cooperating with European level social partner organizations. I would like to underline that the social dialogue systems in the European Union member states are very different. The capacity of social partners and the government support to social partners is different in different member states. However, we have identified a lot of factors which are instrumental to have effective social dialogue. Those factors include, for example, mutual trust, government support and cooperation, as well as autonomy of the partners in the social dialogue. Better and timely involvement of social partners in European economic governance will empower them to strengthen the European Union social dimension. Well, about our tomorrow's discussions, we will continue our discussions focusing on the recent topicalities such as challenges of the social dialogue, taking into account the technological changes, for example, digitalization, as well as demographic changes, for example, aging of the society, as well as the consequences of economic and financial crisis. The next topic of our tomorrow's discussions will be about the possibilities to improve representation of employers and employees. We will speak about the future role of autonomous agreements concluded by social partners and what are the recent changes in member states concerning social dialogue in wage-setting negotiations. And we will have a special working group discussing this issue. And tomorrow's meeting will be concluded by the discussion concerning about the implementation of social dialogue and how to strengthen the responsibility of all the parties involved, both at the national level and at the European level, including the process of European semester. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Minister. And now I will give the floor to the Vice President of the Commission, Mr. Dombrovskis. Thank you.
Representatives, first of all, I would like to thank Minister Augulis for very good and very productive discussions we had during today's Council meeting. So, where Ministers of Labour and Social Affairs were joined by high-level representatives of social partners, members of the European Parliament, and representatives of International Labour Organization. Social dialogue certainly has an important role to play in deciding economic and social policy priorities. This is something what I learned also myself as a Prime Minister, and I must note that the engagement and support of social partners during the crisis was quite important, quite critical to actually carry out reforms what Latvia needed and which are bringing fruit now. So, bearing on this experience, I also encourage the ministers in EPSCO Council to strengthen the social dialogue, to find better ways how to involve social partners in decision-making. Last month, the European Commission organized a high-level conference, a new start of social dialogue, to give a new impetus of social dialogue with both EU and national social partners. This marked a new approach where social partners have a more prominent role in finding sustainable growth model in addressing our economic and social challenges. We agreed that stronger involvement of social partners in European semester must be a priority. National social partners need to be fully involved in development of national reform programs and in implementing the agreed reforms. Social dialogue at the EU level will see significant new opportunities if it will be responsive to the increased role of EU in economic policy coordination and also to the new approach of EU policy making, to focus not on everything, but on where we can really make a difference. The success of many of our priorities to great extent depends on the adaptability of labour markets, for example, in terms of skills and changing working environments and conditions. There we also need the genuine involvement of stakeholders at all levels and in particular involvement of social partners. From a broader perspective, major EU initiatives such as the investment plan, the creation of the energy union and the digital single market also have significant growth and jobs creation potential. From the Commission side, we are already consulting with EU social partners on those major EU policy initiatives. This year we have changed the calendar of European semester. The European Commission published its analysis of Member States' economic situation or country reports 3 months earlier than in previous years, and it was done exactly to have more time for dialogue with Member States and social partners in Member States so that we can prepare more balanced country-specific recommendations, taking also into account Member States' input. Myself, also Commissioner Thyssen, other members of Commission are now making country visits to discuss with national parliaments, governments and social partners to discuss structural reforms and country-specific issues. As I said before, we publish country-specific recommendations. Myself, tomorrow I will go to Germany exactly in a context of European semester, so to discuss country-specific issues as regards the Germany. So once again, I would like to thank Latvian presidency for this very good, very productive meeting. Thank you for your attention.
Paldies viceprezidentam, un tagad.
Thank you, Mr. Vice President. Now I will give the floor to Commissioner Thyssen.
Gentlemen, as Vice President Dombrovskis just highlighted, we are convinced that social partners, both at European and at national level, have a major contribution to make to address the challenges we face in Europe. And that's why also I am very grateful to the Latvian presidency for organizing this informal Council of Ministers around social dialogue, and this in the presence of the social partners and of a representation of the European Parliament. Our social model is the social market economy, and this social market economy, which, as you know, is anchored in the European Treaty, in this social market economy there should be no trade-offs between competitiveness and social inclusion. This was one of the messages we heard today, and what we also from Commission side told the ministers and the social partners. Evidence shows that countries with a strong social dialogue, that they are among the European Union's best performing and most competitive economies with a better and a more resilient social situation. And that's why we are convinced that social dialogue is important to strike the right balance in our policies. Ladies and gentlemen, at our high-level conference of the 5th of March, and Vice President Dombrovskis made a reference at this too, at this high-level conference, the dialogue, we expressed our common commitment to relaunch the social dialogue in the European Union, and it is a pleasure now to witness in the discussions here today and tomorrow also, I expect, in Riga, the dynamic that this has brought about. We had some stimulating debates on the nature, the patterns and the environments of work, which are rapidly changing. Representatives of employers and employees can help us to understand the specific challenges on our labour markets and can contribute to adequate policy responses. I believe we should fully tap this potential at European and at national level. We will therefore continue to underpin social dialogue by facilitating meetings of both cross-industry and sectoral committees, by investing in capacity building and by financially supporting their projects on topics connected to the European Union's policy priorities. And we want to step up partner involvement in our policies. Under my own portfolio, this concerns a number of initiatives which aim at enhancing competitiveness and fairness on our labour markets. For instance, a consultation of social partners on the European legislation relating to the information and consultation rights of workers has just been launched. We are also currently assessing the Work Time Directive and our occupational health and safety legislation to assess whether it needs to be adapted to changing working patterns and environments. In a few days' time, we will meet the European social partners on our forthcoming initiative as regards the integration of long-term unemployed. And let me finally also be clear that we expect a significant contribution from social partners to the discussions on our labour mobility package to be presented at the end of this year. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Commissioner. And now time for questions. Go ahead, please.
Okay, it's turned on now. My name is Yuris Kaja. Today I'm representing again the Spanish news agency EFI, and my question, of course, concerns Southern Europe and Spain, because it's all well and good to have social partners, but if you are unemployed, as are a high percentage of Spanish youth, then you are not on any side of the social dialogue. You're neither an employee nor an employer, nor are you the government part of that triad. How far have we gone in using the youth job guarantee measures that were announced earlier, and what impact do you see this having on the very high unemployment rates in Spain and some other southern European countries?
Yeah, thank you very much. Well, of course, youth unemployment is a big problem, huh? And everybody knows the figures, so we don't have to repeat them. And we know that the problem is higher in some member states than in others. But in general, it is a problem because we know that the unemployment is well, it's going better, as Vice President Dombrovskis has clearly said when we presented the annual growth survey. We have growth again in every member state, little, but it's there for the first time in every member state. And we see from month to month, last month, that the unemployment figures are going down. But when we look at the figures, it's almost 10% on average, the overall unemployment. And if you look at the young people up to 25, we still have a figure of 21.8%, and that's much too high. And we know that in the southern part of Europe, in certain member states, Spain and Greece, not to mention them, the situation is even worse. We have the Youth Guarantee, we have the Youth Employment Initiative, among other instruments to do something against that problem, because we want to fight this. This is really among the main priorities, because we want to give hope to young people and not hearing people speak about the lost generation. We must give them good prospects and hope and do what we can. And we have specific instruments, so the Youth Guarantee and the Youth Unemployment Initiative. The Youth Guarantee, it's about structural changes in member states to help young people back on the track to a job, back on, or to make the transfer easier from school to unemployment. And here we have a commitment of all the member states that within 4 months after leaving school or after having lost their job, that young people are offered or a traineeship, an internship, an apprenticeship maybe, a job offer, or again education, a continued education. To help the member states to realize this, we created the Youth Initiative. The Youth Initiative, there we see that it's coming slowly from the ground, too slowly, and that's why I took the initiative, and with the Commission we did a proposal in the beginning of this year to raise the pre-finance level of payments to the member states, because we saw that in many member states there were budgetary constraints to really start with concrete projects on the ground. This proposal is now in the European Parliament and in the Council of Ministers, but we have good news. It's going in the good direction, and I think that I hope in May, maybe June, but I hope that next month we can come to an agreement, and from the moment that this decision by the co-legislators is taken, the day after we can start paying up to 30% of the level of the payments that are foreseen for those member states, and this is really helping them a lot. The member states are happy with this proposal and they support it. Of course, it's not only about specific instruments. To have jobs, we must look at the supply side also, and that's why we have this investment plan, we have the energy union, we have the digital single market, and we are putting all our policies at European level in function of creating jobs and growth. And we especially say growth, jobs and growth, and not growth and jobs, because jobs is really at the heart of our policies. It will not be done in once, it takes some time, but I think that the proposals we did and the instruments we use, they start taking off the ground. The programs are done. Member states are really doing some reforms. I visit them one after another, let me say. I also look at projects they do, and it's really starting and coming from the ground. So let's hope that those instruments help. But it's not only with this, it's also, of course, our general policy to have an economic recovery that we need. Yeah.
Maybe I can briefly inform you about the situation in Latvia with the youth guarantee. As to the youth guarantee, we started to work with this tool last year. Maybe we haven't yet reached the most active phase, but of course the great support will come in the form of this prepayment that was described a short while ago. Then we will be able to continue this initiative, but also in the so-called passive phase, the guarantee has shown already a good result. Quite a huge percentage of young people have found jobs already. And they are young people from the group who have gone through this program. At least 1 in 5 of those have found jobs, have found employment. And this is another evidence that this program indeed works. We have studied also the experience of other countries, and if and when we pass over to the active phase this year, then we will see that we'll be able to involve or embrace more people. We will ensure jobs. Again, there will be the investment plan, which hopefully will provide jobs. But I think that this is indeed a very good program. It will help many countries to reduce youth unemployment. Thank you. One short question.
Mike Collier, Agence France Presse. Vice President Dombrovskis mentioned that this social dialogue sort of initiative represents a new approach to EU policy making, and Commissioner, you said that you'd noticed a new dynamic sort of in the air. So I was just wondering how, if everything goes to plan, if we look at things in 5 years' time, what will we notice that's different about EU policy making compared to the way things are done right now?
Yes, as you rightly noted, right now we are working towards having a fresh start to the social dialogue. And from European Commission's point of view, there's clearly lots of commitment to strengthen the role of social partners in decision making. I already mentioned those practical examples, how we are adjusting the way European semester works to have better opportunities for social partners at EU level, basically to present their views prior to the preparation of annual growth survey and at national level prior to the preparation of country-specific recommendations. Another practical step, what we are doing as a follow-up, is actually capacity building of the social partners, which is also an important element, and it was also clearly one of the priorities which were set out by social partners themselves during our 5th of March summit. And so what difference it would make? Well, I would expect that it would allow us at the end of the day to ensure better balance between financial and economic decision making on one hand with social and employment decision making on another hand. And there is another element. While we are discussing trilateral social dialogue or tripartite social dialogue with employers, employees and representatives of EU institutions or national governments respectively, it's also important to strengthen bilateral or bipartite social dialogue because there we really see that actually there had been very few horizontal initiatives of social partners where both employer and employee sides would agree. There's a number of sectoral agreements, but there is not really too many cross-sector agreements. So another important aspect is for social partners also to strengthen their bipartite social dialogue.
Yeah, if I may add something. If you ask me what I expect from this new dynamics, and I see the difference. When I started as a new commissioner, I've met the social partners separately, together with, of course, with Vice President Dombrovskis, and I see new dynamism. And what do I expect if this works? Well, I think if we believe what our own studies tell us, that is that countries with a strong social dialogue, institutions perform better, are more competitive and have a more resilient social situation, then I think we have to believe, and this is what I personally do, that we will, with the help of the social partners, if they really take their responsibility and work together among them and with us, that we can better understand the challenges in the different societies, that we have a chance to have better, more adequate responses to the problems than if we would solve everything on our own. And I think it's very important in a society that the solutions you bring, they must be acceptable for the people, but also accepted by the people. And if we have the social partners at our side, I think this can help for both. So I believe that we can have a better policy anyway, after 5 years with social partners than without.
Ar šīm izsmeļošajām atbildēm arī mēs noslēdzam.
On this very exhaustive note, we are going to close this press conference. Thank you very much.